Meanwhile, the South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, is planning a national shutdown to respond to escalating food, electricity and fuels costs. SAFTU General Secretary Zwelinzima Vavi has encouraged South Africans to turn up in their numbers to speak out. Vavi says the current state of the country is not the freedom that people should be celebrating. He says South Africa should not be at the doorstep of a failed state that's as we've seen in Zimbabwe and other countries. All right, he joins us now, the General Secretary of SAFTU, Mr. Zwelinzima Vavi, to speak about some of these issues. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. Vavi. Let's just first start with a definite date for this planned national shutdown. Have you reached one?
Yes, we have put up a date tentatively for the 24th of August. For the day when we will start a rolling mass action of mobilization of the working class, the poor, and the black majority who have been totally neglected and left behind, totally betrayed, and whose dreams that they had during the nightmare of the apartheid system have become a nightmare even in the dreams, if we were to use those dialectics. And we have put this date up, and not to impose it, but as a ideal that we want to put far enough to allow us space to talk to other trade union federations, trade unions, workers mobilized in general. As you know, most of the workers are no longer even members of the trade unions. We want to reach out to those workers in their industrial areas, recruit them into the unions. We want to build unity with other working class formations, the youth, the women, the backyarders, the people who are being evicted in the farms, and the farm workers who are being brutalized in the semi-feudal system that continues to exist. We want to continue to speak to environmental groups, to political formations that are left-leaning, that agree that they must champion the interest of the black working class, and who will conform with the type of principles that we have put forward. And we want to converge in a working class summit on the first week of August. And from there, we want that summit to be the one that will name the date or finalize or endorse.
Get deep into the issues. So clearly what you're saying is that you're looking for widespread support across all sectors and various stakeholders. You have a membership, we're told, of about 800,000 workers. Are you confident that you're going to have 100% support there, just within SAFTU? But I also want you to talk to me about reports saying earlier on this morning that trucks along the R34 John Ross Highway from Empangeni to Richards Bay in KwaZulu-Natal blocked that route, and that was under the name or the guise of a national shutdown. Is this too part of your campaign?
No, we were not involved in the shutdown of today. It was not a national action. It was sporadic actions that are spirited and by the anger people feel against the very same issues we ourselves are raising. Some of those, as you would have seen in your own television coverage, were a small group of people who were commemorating, mourning, and marking the first anniversary of the arrest of the former president, Jacob Zuma. So that was a combination of what was happening. There is anger, Tsepiso, and there is every opportunist now jumping into the bandwagon. And I'm not saying that the people who are protesting today are in any way opportunist, but there will always be elements like that in any society. We want to build unity from bottom up of genuine left-leaning formations of our people to confront the status quo and to propose radical alternatives to the kind of neoliberalism, austerity programs, privatization programs, the rates of crimes, the crisis of escalation and worsening of the prices, be they fuel and electricity, food, and be the interest rates that are being put back to where we were in the pre-corona pandemic. And it's something that is leading to more people losing their homes, their houses, and their valued properties that they would have bought through higher purchase or whatever kind. And that's the type of battles we want to take up. Yeah.
Now, you speak about South Africa being in danger of being a failed state like that of Zimbabwe. You say there are those who argue that while we may bear the hallmarks of a potentially collapsing state, we certainly are not there, that we are a few years from there. And I want to ask you if you disagree with this notion. I say that while acknowledging that a good 15 years ago, our compatriots from the continent warned South Africa. They said, you watch, in the next 20 years, you'll be experiencing the very same things that we're experiencing, and that is continuous power failure, rising fuel and food costs, spiraling inflation, and some of the things that you've mentioned. But just how dire do you see the circumstances? Because we're talking about the infrastructure here.
We are standing right on the doorsteps of a house-written failed state, Banana Republic. Me first, to hell with everybody. Survival of the fittest, dog eat dog. And where the black majority, whose aspirations was that we will have a better life for all, are now being shattered, betrayed totally by a small ruling elites who work in partnership with the thugs in the corporate sector, rated the second most corrupt by successive Price Waters surveys, and only second sometimes to India, sometimes only second to the China corrupt corporates. And that's where we are. We have not yet entered the house. There's a possibility that we can turn that direction and move our country away. What we shouldn't accept as the people of this country is to begin to normalize this abnormal. It is abnormal that, as I speak to you, we are load-shedded, and we hope that we will get our electricity after 10 o'clock, but we are dead sure that the people from the residential areas of the working class black people will have their load shedding not lasting for 2 hours, but 4, 6, 8 hours, sometimes for days without electricity. We can't say this is normal. It is not normal that we must see a combined increase of the rates or tariff rates of electricity of above 16%, having been 30% in 2021. We can't say this is normal, and we must not accept this normality that between 2007 and now and 2020, we would have seen a 460% increase in the electricity tariffs. It's not normal. We are refusing, SAFTU, calling on the working class to also refuse. Let's draw the line on the sand and say, no, we can't go on like this. We can't breathe.
And we'll get to the socio-economic impacts and details or per sector in just a moment, but I want to continue looking at this frame of a failed state and the lessons that we can learn. I mean, one of the things that people have noted now is the precarious security situation we find ourselves in, as you say, prolonged periods of load shedding, brownouts, blackouts, whichever way we want to categorize it. And some have said that we need to be careful because there is a correlation between a failed state and the growth of private security sector. Do you think we're in danger of that, given the fact that there have been so many complaints about how our security services are just not stepping up under such circumstances?
The reason why we're taking up this campaign is because the poor, the marginalized black majority do not have access to those fast-growing private security sector, which we in the suburbs can afford to pay and walk around with the alarm bells or panic buttons in our pockets or hanging in our domestic workers' necks. The black majority in the working class, trapped in the squalor next to where we stay in Alexander, in the informal settlement, simply have no money to hire private security. 70 to 80% of the population of this country relies on the services that government provides for water, for electricity, for security, for public education, for public health care, for clean environment, for everything that is of essential service to sustain our lives. 70 to 80% of our people rely on the government. And that's why we are taking the campaign against privatization of ESCOM or other state-owned enterprises.
All right, just a quick one.
Taking up a campaign against...
Just a quick one. What should we do immediately prior or in the steps leading up to this in terms of appealing to government? I mean, you've mentioned the high food and fuel costs, the impact of load shedding on small businesses, the interest rates, the issue of privatization, joblessness. Now, there are two juxtapositions here. There's resource scarcity, which will lead to frustration and violence, and there's resource abundance, which provokes corruption and exclusion. How do we prevent all of this from happening in the small time that we have? Some have even given the Minerals and Energy Minister 10 days to institute a plan in terms of IPPs. How do we call upon government to take immediate and urgent action to prevent a shutdown?
Build power in the workplace, build power in the community, unite the workplace struggles with those of the communities. Build one movement of the working class, and that movement must not be sectarian, must not be purist, and must be based on a principle of building a minimum program that can build the broadest unity possible amongst the working class formations. That's the only way. Once we have that power in our streets, once we take over the nights from the criminals who are checking now and have the rotation of this blackout in their hands so that they can attack women in darkness, can raid our homes and cause havoc, then we would have taken the first step of reclaiming the victories that we thought we were putting together in the 1994 period. That's what we need. We need power, and we need institutionalized power back into the 1980s, where we had the street committees, the area committees, where we were able to flush out criminals, where we were able to defend and work with the police that are progressive, that are ready to defend our rights to live in a country where we don't have a situation today where every day we are told by the very same police that we're killing 68 people amongst ourselves, and we're raping 114 women amongst ourselves. And this is the country we don't want to see going forward. And this is what we're calling the direction towards a failed state. We don't want our country to be yet another Zimbabwe, another failed revolution in the African continent. Yes, we were warned by our counterpart trade unions all over the continent that wait and see what will happen in the next 20 years. Unfortunately, we seem to be following the footsteps of these failed revolutions all over the African continent. And that's why we are making a call to everybody, everybody that thinks that we shouldn't maintain this current status quo, to join hands with others that think alike and to resist.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Zwelinzima Vavi, General Secretary of SAFTU. Much appreciated.